If you were sexually assaulted or raped, I'm just going to use the word sexual assault because that covers every type of non-consensual sexual treatment towards a person. If you were sexually assaulted, but you doubt whether or not you actually were sexually assaulted, maybe you blame yourself. Maybe you ask yourself, why didn't I say no? Why didn't I fight back? Why did I put myself in that situation? Why was I wearing that thing? Why was I kind to that person? Why did I not have my guard up even more? Etc., etc. Then maybe this is for you. First of all, if you felt like your boundary was crossed sexually, even if you didn't fight back, even if you didn't say no, that is sexual assault. We have normalized putting all the blame onto the victim. Consent is voluntary. Consent is given freely. Consent is reversible. You can't consent if you're a minor. You can't consent if you have been intoxicated or in any way are not able to make decisions. Consent is not the absence of no, and consent is not the absence of yes. So if you've not said yes to someone touching you or raping you or doing something sexual to you that you did not agree to, then that is sexual assault. It's as simple as that. But it can also be tricky because we can be in a situation where we have willingly done something and at one point we become scared, we freeze, we try and survive the situation by shutting down or by agreeing to what is happening. And especially if someone is aggressive or not listening to you, not looking at you, not paying attention to whether or not you like what's happening, if they don't care about whether or not you like what's happening, if they're just on a fast-moving train towards a destination of what they want, it does not matter what you do or say, they'll still try and get what they want. Power, dominance, humiliation, pain towards someone. Sexual assault doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to feel extreme, or it doesn't have to be a stranger in an alleyway suddenly attacking you out of nowhere. Sexual assault can happen in your marital bed with your partner that you've been with for years. It can happen with your friend or acquaintance. It can happen in a situation where you did not even expect something bad to happen, but still it happened, and it was not your fault. It was not your fault. And I know that it can be hard to understand that it was not your fault. It is so easy to put the blame on yourself and think, what could I have done differently? Or could I have prevented this in any way? Or maybe if I had done that, it wouldn't have happened, and so on. I think it's so important to remember that sexual assault is never the victim's fault. It is always the perpetrator's fault. Think of it as this: if you're hanging out with someone, no matter the situation, and they start slapping you across the face, and your body starts to freeze out of fear, you don't know what's going on. You might realize that this is not good what's happening, but you freeze. And then you're told afterwards, why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you hit them back? Why didn't you call for help? Why didn't you scream? Like, why did you put yourself in that situation to begin with? Why did you hang out with that person? As though it is your responsibility, as though you are able to predict what is going to happen. You're not going to be able to predict what's going to happen, sadly, but that is not your responsibility. It is not on you. If someone comes up to you and slaps you for no reason, just because they want to, just because they find pleasure in it, just because they find a sense of power in that, that is on them 100%. 100%. They chose to slap you. And how you respond in a situation that is crossing your boundaries, that is going to depend from person to person. Some people, they might try and fight it. They might try and have some sort of resistance. Some people will freeze completely. Some people might be even more pleasing to the situation. They might act as though they want it, even though inside they know this is not what I want. I did not agree to this. But they'll do it in order to keep the peace in the situation. They'll do it because they're so afraid that if they seem like this is over my boundary, I'm scared, I'm uncomfortable, that the perpetrator is gonna be even more dominating, even more assaulting. And in another case, you might be completely frozen, completely still, no expression, no reaction. And in many cases, people go along with what's happening. And it's also important to say that whether you're male or female, anyone can get sexually assaulted. This is not about your gender or your sex. This is about the perpetrator. This is about the person harming you. They are doing something wrong. We have normalized this culture of always blaming the victim, always assuming that people are able to fight back, or that the responsibility lies with the victim, that because the victim didn't fight back, then it was their fault, which is so untrue and so damaging in so many ways. Coming back to consent, if you're in a situation and you're scared and you're frozen, you're not saying no, you're not resisting, but you're also not saying yes. Being quiet, being frozen is not a yes. A yes is a yes. Except if you're in a situation where you deem that the best way to survive the situation is actually pretending like you enjoy it, pretending like you're giving consent to them. So in many ways, even though it's simple, if someone does something to you that you don't want, no matter how you react, no matter what your actions are, their actions are always gonna be at fault. It is their responsibility, it is their harm that is done to you. You did not agree that someone has the right to abuse you, to use your body against your will. You did not agree to being touched without your consent. It is always the perpetrator's fault. Always. It doesn't matter if the perpetrator is a male or female. It doesn't matter. It's always their fault. And if you're a male and you get told, why didn't you fight back? You're a man. That is toxic masculinity right there. Assuming that because you are a man, you are supposed to fight back, that the responsibility lies with you because, you're the strong sex. And you're supposed to be able to fight back in those situations. And if you didn't, then you're not a man, then you're not man enough. That is bullshit. A man can get sexually assaulted as well by a man or a woman. Okay, so it doesn't matter who has the penis or which gender or which sex you are. It is always the perpetrator's fault. And I know if you're listening to this and you are a victim of sexual assault, then you might have so much shame and guilt. And it's not something that can just be taken off your shoulders, because this is an issue that is ingrained in our culture, in our society, that most people have that attitude towards victims, that it is their fault. And so it's so easy to believe that because that's the norm. There's something extremely twisted by the fact that we have flipped the roles completely, that the victim is somehow the perpetrator and the perpetrator is the victim. That we're supposed to feel sorry for the perpetrator and think, oh, they didn't know what they were doing, or they didn't know that it was wrong, they didn't know they did something that was crossing someone's boundaries, they didn't know they were assaulting the person, they thought that the person wanted it. If you're in a sexual situation with someone, or just in any situation and something sexual happens that you did not say yes to, if you did not agree on this, if the person never asked you if you wanted it, or if you're in bed with someone and suddenly they start to do something that you did not agree to, that is sexual assault. No one has the right to your body. No one has the right to do what they want with your body. It is your body. It is your boundaries. No one has the right to use you. No one has the right to just do whatever they want to you. We live in this culture where, unfortunately, so many believe that, and this is especially with men, believe that men are superior. Men are the stronger sex. Men are better. Women are things. Women are objects. Women are holes. The men have the swords and the women are the holes. The women are forced to be on the receiving end of their violence, of their assault. Again, I know it can happen both ways, but since women are statistically assaulted more than men, I'm going to focus on this for now. We have this idea that because men are somehow better than women, and because so many men have hatred towards women, even if they're aware of it or not, men who watch a lot of porn where everything is about the man's pleasure and the man's enjoyment, and the woman is just there to receive it and to just take it, and she's not allowed to have a boundary. She's not allowed to say, I don't want this, I don't like this. And if she does, he might become even more dominating. There's also another instance of people who are sexually assaulted and they know that if they express, I don't want this, I don't like this, please stop, that the perpetrator is going to be even more aggressive, even more dominating. So saying to someone, why didn't you fight back? Or why didn't you fight back harder? Why didn't you say no? Why didn't you say no in different ways? Why didn't you say no more? You're instilling this belief that the blame is on the victim, the responsibility is on the victim, and you're forgetting a key detail, that every situation is different. And in some situations, saying no is more dangerous than just being quiet and agreeing to what's happening. Because as a victim, you're doing the best you can in that situation. Something is happening to you that is over your boundary. Something has happened to you that is wrong. Someone is doing something wrong to you. This is not a give and take. This is not a harmony. This is not two people doing something together. This is someone doing something to you. That is sexual assault. And you can't control how you react in a situation. You can never predict it. You can't predict their behavior and you can't predict your behavior. You can't predict your automatic response to danger. You can't predict if you're going to fight back, scream, yell, try and be quiet, try and be complicit, try and just smile through it and endure it. You can't control it. I think it's important to remember that in those situations, your automatic reaction, your automatic response, your instincts, and the way you react is the best way you can react in that situation. So however that situation unfolded, whatever happened and however you reacted, remember that you did the best you could. It was not your fault. The blame is 100% on the perpetrator, on the person doing these things to you. And remember that no matter what you do or didn't do, in the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you reacted That is not the focus here. This is not what this is about, how you reacted. You reacted out of survival. You reacted to harm done to you. You reacted on sexual assault. You reacted on someone else harming you, assaulting you against your will. So it does not matter how you reacted, how you responded. It does not matter if you said yes or no, because someone doing something sexual to you without your consent, that is sexual assault. Period.